Good morning and welcome back to Spurs Latest. I am your host, Trip Graham. So happy to have you here today. Got so much talk about the NBA. Great week in NBA going on. We got a few more weeks of the playoffs, and it is really heating up around the NBA in terms of our Spurs. And some of the favorites to win the NBA title are just really surging right now in the NBA. So we have so much to talk about today. Let's do it. So, first, big game tonight. Probably our biggest game. We keep saying that it's our biggest game, but we keep wanting to give ourselves challenges later in the season. These are the games that I feel like are almost playoff atmosphere. The Spurs take on the Celtics tonight. Two top seeds in each of their conferences. Spurs number 2 in the West. Celtics number 2 in the East. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. The Spurs want to keep their home winning streak alive at 9 games. They have been undefeated since all of February into March, but one game, the Knicks, the Celtics rivals. So we have another interconference rival today, and we play against the Celtics and Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Nima Kaida. And then can't forget about their sixth man, Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard is one of their most exciting players, almost known as Mr. Buzzer Beater at this point of how he hits buzzer beaters. Really fun player to watch. Honestly, one of my favorite players to watch out of the East. So looking forward to watching Peyton Pritchard tonight versus our Spurs. Obviously, don't want him to do good tonight. So, some things about this game. Jason Tatum, this is only his third game back now. It's unbelievable how good he is looking in his return. And it really makes me question about, minutes restrictions. So, SGA is coming back on a minutes restriction for a bruised knee. And he's playing it at 20 games a night. Now, Tatum is coming back from a torn Achilles injury. And is playing automatically 27 games a night for the last 2 games. My biggest question is, how do, NBA injuries work where, if he was okay a month ago and he could play 15 minutes, would they force Tatum back? Or is there a rule where you're allowed to get fully healthy if you want to, like Tatum, and come back at full strength? I still think Tatum's playing about probably 80% for an Achilles injury, which is pretty amazing to be doing. But some of the biggest things from that is how are you allowed to come back full strength? I mean, it's just a testament probably to the Boston Celtics training staff of coming back full strength right away. I've honestly never seen that before. Whenever a big player or any player really gets injured, they're on a minutes restriction coming back. I mean, we've seen minute restriction and game restrictions affect every single team in the league. It's always really interesting when someone, has that. I know Jokic had a minutes restriction earlier this season. They were talking about that. But yeah, just to find it interesting, Tatum does not have that minutes restriction. And they put him back into full gear. Number one player of minute restriction always is Joel Embiid. I'm a big non-fan of Joel Embiid. Not a fan of Joel Embiid. But yeah, let's get back to the game. Sorry. So Spurs versus Celtics tonight. Big things that I'm looking for is Wemby to really crush it in the paint. Luke Kornet gets a homecoming against the Celtics. He was on the Celtics the last few seasons. Really grew up there. So I'm excited to see Luke Kornet get back with his old teammates. And this could be honestly an NBA Finals matchup that we could see in the future. I'm really looking forward to this one. So, big things is being very productive in the paint. Their number one center, Vucevic, is out of the game tonight. He has a fractured thumb. So I really look for us to push it inside and really crush that paint. Wemby can crush that paint all night long. Tatum, let's take advantage of him being at 80% and not being the defensive force that he usually is. So Wemby, really got to push it inside. Champagny, I will look for the threes outside as well as Vassell. And then Fox, keep doing what you're doing with distributing the ball. Really, it's been great. Keldon Johnson, just keep up the defensive pressure. And Stephon Castle, just keep getting those double doubles, man. That's really what I'm looking for, Stephon Castle. All right. Other things for this game. Oh, did everyone see that Magic City night? The Atlanta Magic City night is canceled. The NBA did cancel it. Atlanta is arguing about them canceling it. But I bet Luke Cornett is rejoicing. He's saying that he didn't want it to be going through with. So Magic City night has been canceled by the NBA, not by the Atlanta Hawks. Spearheaded by Luke Cornett's efforts of pointing it out. I honestly think that it might have gone through if Luke Cornett didn't point it out and make it into a PR store. So interesting how how the NBA has handled this debacle. But yeah. All right, well, looking forward to the Spurs versus Celtics tonight. Let's talk about MVP. So this is really coming down the stretch of, players that are going to be able to be eligible. Possibilities are SGA, Jokic, and Wemby all might not be eligible for MVP this year due to games played. That would leave up Cade Cunningham and Jaylen Brown, one of our opponents tonight. And the opponent that we've been beaten down on over on the Pistons. So I really see this as, Cade Cunningham's award to lose. If they win the number 1 East seed, I definitely see him winning it. Just kind of a shoe-in if he is the first seed in the East. If, the Celtics somehow take it, I could see Jaylen Brown winning it. But I really think it's going to come down to the first place team, really in the East, due to the games restriction. SGA might not make it. Jokic might not make it. Wemby might not make it, which is going to be really interesting, especially not just for MVP, but for Defensive Player of the Year, because everyone's saying that Wemby is a shoo-in to win Defensive Player of the Year. So who will that go to if he doesn't make the game restriction? So we will see. Really interested in seeing how this plays out. Yeah, I mean, this was what it was designed for. That players should be playing a certain amount of games if they want to be eligible. I pretty agree with it. 65 games is tough. That's missing 17 games a season. But that's not, I think that's a pretty fair number of games. Some of the things about this is, this is because of Embiid. Embiid won that MVP by playing 50-something games. Just absolutely ridiculous. That should never be able to happen again. So, I do understand it, and I do support it, the 65 game. Maybe it should be 62, maybe 60. I would be actually mad a little about 60. Yeah, so I think 65 is the good number for this scale. So yeah, I have Cade Cunningham winning MVP due to the restrictions of this year. SGA, I would be saying he is MVP if he does hit the limit. I don't see him doing it. But he is playing a minutes restriction, so they can try to force him to this end of the season and try to get him to win that MVP. So let's see if, he's able to do it, get the number of games under his belt to win it. But I don't see it happening. I would worry more about playoff success, and if, SGA needs to sit out games, I'd be doing that Thunder and saying, hey, you need to be worried more about the playoffs and not so much worried about the MVP, because that would be way more sweet to go back-to-back championships than back-to-back MVPs. I almost promised him that. So yeah, let's see how this plays out. Cade Cunningham, unbelievable season. I love that the Pistons are just this scrappy team that we've always known the Pistons to be. Teams do have their identity, and it's still it still is. Teams still have their identity. I really do love that. Just some of the team identity is obviously the Pistons, the scrappy team. They always have been since the bad boy Pistons. The Lakers, always the flashy team. They always have a star in every single era. Kareem, Magic, Kobe, LeBron. Always that big star in every single era. And then the Celtics, I feel like they have the longevity of history. It goes from, you know, Bill Russell to Larry Bird to Paul Pierce after a really bad few 90s. And now to Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Just a long history of teams playing together for a long period of time. So really like that. And then, obviously our Spurs. Our Spurs are really now known as the international team. That has really been our identity since Tim Duncan and, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. So always had that that thought process of we are the international team. So I do love that, and that Wemby is just truly embodies that. So all right, well I just wanted to talk about that a little. Other things going on. I just wanted to see, where do you guys have LeBron playing next year, or do you see him doing next year? Obviously, I do see him transitioning into a GM owner role in the future. I don't think next year he's playing for the Lakers. I think next year he will be playing for the Cavaliers. I think it makes the most sense in his stage of his career and who he wants to surround himself with. The Cavaliers are still an extremely good team, and I see them, wanting LeBron after this postseason, no matter if it takes money, if he can go there or not. I know that's going to be the biggest thing is probably money. But I think they'll be able to figure that out because LeBron wants to go there enough. Some other things about this, LeBron and the Lakers has been a great time, but I think it's time to move on for the Lakers. If I was the Lakers, I'd be so ready for LeBron to move on. Give him all his flowers. Don't have bad. I know in the last year it's been a little sour between him and the Lakers, but I still think it's a good relationship. Obviously, the sale team is always tough, things like that. So it is Luka's team, and I continue to think it will be Luka's team into the future. So I really look forward to seeing what LeBron has for his future plans. I obviously see him in a GM ownership type role in the future. I think he'll be around the NBA and like Michael Jordan for his entire lifetime. I know Michael Jordan does not like being around the NBA. But I do predict different with LeBron. I do predict LeBron will be in the mix, as we progress. After his time in the NBA playing, I think he'll stay around the NBA for a long time to come. I think he loves it. And he knows so much of the players and the owners and the GMs that I think he would fit right well into an ownership position right off the bat. Truly believe that he will fit into an ownership position right off the bat. So let's see how that plays out. And last thing I want to talk about today is tanking. We have some of the most professional tanking down the stretch we've ever seen in the NBA. I think the bottom three teams in the East have a total of about 40 wins. Just unbelievably bad. Some of this, the Kings are out of the West is so bad. It is unbelievable how bad they're playing. There is obviously, the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets have not been able to do anything right in pretty much their entire existence. They have one of the saddest existence in all of sports. Truly one of the saddest existence. There was a time where they had Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. That really does feel like a fever dream at this point. There was a point where they traded for Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and gave up their entire future so the Celtics could end up drafting Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It is very interesting how that team has played out in their future. Honestly, doesn't look bright. It really doesn't. I really don't see them being good for the next few years. And I would, if I was on the Nets, I would be getting myself off there. I just hate the tanking that's going on with them. Just unbelievably bad. And what do you think? I personally think that you should not be able to get 2 top 5 picks in a row in back-to-back years. I know that's not the end-all be-all to solve it, but I don't think you should be able to have back-to-back 5 overall picks in 2 years because of this tanking problem. I don't. It's wasting talent. It's wasting players. Keon Ellis, who is a really good role player on the Kings, was not being played for the fact is that he's good. And then he got traded to the Cavs and he's playing 20 minutes a game. That's what I'm talking about. Is that there's just good players in the NBA that are being held back by these tank teams, and I really just want to see that gone going forward. Well, that's all I have today on Spurs Latest. Thank you for joining me. Can't wait to recap the Celtics versus Spurs tomorrow. Luke Cornett homecoming of against the Boston Celtics. Let's go, De'Aaron Fox. This is going to be a big game for him, for Wemby, for Castle. Let's go. Go Spurs, go.